Hey everyone, here is just a short explanation of the Systems of Equations project. There are 4 parts to it. Basically, you're going to pick one of the real world scenarios on the next page, and I'll kind of go through what they are. And you're going to demonstrate your understanding of systems of equations. So first things first, I'm going to want you to add a visual of the scenario since it's a real world problem. Just give me something that represents that problem. Okay, and I'll show you my example in just a second. Then you're going to present the equations for the system on this page. So it's going to come from a word problem, and you're going to have to write the equations for it. So on the title page, you need to tell me which 2 equations you're solving. Then label and define your variables. So you have to tell me what x and y are, or what a and b are, whatever variables you pick. Then on the next slide, you're going to solve it by substitution. And I need you to show me all of your steps for solving and give me an explanation behind each step. So over to the side, say, I added 7 to both sides to get x by itself. Or I added y to the other side to get x by itself so that I could substitute. Then for elimination, you're going to do this same exact thing, except for you might be saying stuff like, I'm multiplying the first equation by 2 so that the x's eliminate. Or I'm multiplying the second equation by -3 so that the y's eliminate, something like that. And then on the last slide, you're going to present and interpret your solution. So tell me what your solution is, but don't just say it's x equals 3, y equals 2. Tell me it's like 3 dogs and 2 cats, or whatever your problem has to do with, okay? Part of the points on each section go towards having the correct mathematical concepts, and part of them go towards having a creative, well thought out presentation. What that means is don't just slap it all on there, at least make it look decent, okay? I'm not expecting perfection on this. I just want it to look nice, okay? Here are the scenarios. You have the options to do vending machine change, business school savings, movie madness, or art gallery conundrum. Read through all 4 of them before you decide. You may pick a second one for 10 points extra credit. So basically the same points as the first slide, but the maximum you can get is 10 points. This project is worth 20, so you can get 30 out of 20 points if you choose an extra one. Title page. This is where I need you to type which one you pick. So if you choose vending machine, then type vending machine madness at the top. Okay, then you're going to want to add a text box, and you can put your mouse down, hold it, and drag it to however big you want that text box to be. Okay, and then you need to paste your problem here. Okay, I like mine centered because I think it looks nicer. If you want to know how to do that, it's where underneath where there's like 4 lines, you can go left, center, right, and you can also decide if you want it to be at the top, in the middle, or on the bottom. Okay. Then this is also where you need to tell me what your equations are and label and define your variables. Okay. Here's what the title page for mine looks like. All right, here's my title, my problem. I did not pick one of the scenarios because I didn't want to take it from anybody. And then notice how I added my problem's about chocolate, so I added some pictures of the Hershey's logo. And down here, I put a scale because my problem is about how much of each type you need. And then I put 70% cocoa over here because that's the first thing. 70% dark chocolate and 20% milk chocolate. So then my 20%'s up here. And then over here I put my equations. So each one of these things is just a text box like that. And I changed the color to make it look a little bit nicer. Then here are my 2 equations. If you want a multiplication dot as well, here's how I did that. I went to insert, special characters, and then it lets you draw the symbol you want. If you want like a division symbol, like that, you can use that. I wanted multiplication, so I just put a dot on there, and I picked this one. I could have picked this one too. I liked the one that was a little bit bigger, easier to see. And then I said D equals the amount of dark chocolate because that's why I used the letter D for that one. And I used M for the amount of milk chocolate. In my problem, it was 70% dark chocolate, so I put 70% as a decimal. And I put 20% as a decimal with the M because it's 20%. And then I multiplied 55% by 32 ounces because that's how much we wanted of cocoa in the end. Then there's 32 total ounces in my problem, so the amount of dark chocolate plus the amount of milk chocolate would have to equal 32 because I'm not going to have more chocolate in the end than I put in between those two together. So those are my two equations. Then I solved by substitution. I made mine into two separate text boxes. Here's my work. Here's my explanation. I first started with my two equations. You should do that too. And then for step 1, I took this M and subtracted it to the other side so that D was by itself. So notice how I didn't write the other equation too. I just wrote what I was changing. And then over here I said in step 1, I subtracted M from both sides of the bottom equation to isolate, and I should say D. Then in step 2, I replaced D in the top equation with the 32 minus M that I found right here. So I just took that and I plugged it in for D, and this is what I got. Okay, so I'm explaining all of my steps over here as I go through the problem. And then at the very end, I'm writing my answers. Then I did the same thing, but I solved it by elimination. The first thing I did was I multiplied this one by 10 because I didn't like the decimals. And if you multiply decimals by 10 or 100, 10 if there's one decimal place, 100 if there's two, it becomes 7m plus 2m equals 176, and there's no decimals left, which made it easier for me to see that 2m, and if this became negative 2m on the bottom, would cancel, which is what I did here, is I took the bottom equation and multiplied it by negative 2. These steps wouldn't make any sense if I didn't provide my explanation over here. Okay? And then at the end, I'll be honest, I copied my first slide down here, and I left the title, and I changed equation to reflection. Underneath the title, I found that the chocolatier needs 22.4 ounces of dark chocolate and 9.6 ounces of milk chocolate to make her mixture of 32 ounces of 55% chocolate. I am interpreting my solution here. This is what my answers 22.4 and 9.6 mean. Okay? And then over here, I personally found that elimination was easier than substitution because substitution involved more steps. And I got rid of the decimals in elimination faster, so I didn't have to worry about multiplying decimals together when I used elimination. Okay, and that's mine. I also changed my image so that I represented my answers in the new image instead. That is kind of like the extra piece a little bit. Here's how you can insert images. You can insert an image, either upload it from your computer. Okay, like for instance, I'm just going to use this one. I could insert that. Okay. Or you can search the web. For instance, on this one, I searched vending machine clip art free, and I click on it, pulls up internet pictures, and I can insert it straight from here instead of opening a new tab, downloading an image from the internet, and then putting it on. You can also drag the corners to make it bigger or smaller. If you drag a corner, it stays the same proportions. If you drag the side, it makes it just wider. It doesn't change the height. Okay. Or you can double click and drag the corners now that there's black lines, and it crops the picture for you down to whichever parts you want. Okay. You can insert shapes. All sorts of shapes are on here. Here's a rounded rectangle, like that. You can type inside of all of the shapes that Google Slides has. So I could type, these are my equations. If you didn't want to do a text box, if you want to do it inside of a shape instead, that's an option. You can change what color this shape is using the paint can. And you can change the border. If I want my border to be purple. If you want border to be bigger, click the 3 lines. There you go. You can also make it not have a border. You can pick transparent. Okay. You can also leave a border on there and make the inside transparent, which is kind of a nice thing to do sometimes if you want your background to be a different color. If you don't want this to be white, click background. You can either choose a color like this, or you can select an image. And I'm going to pick one of my math jokes. Let's see. Here's a joke. It's a calculator. Funny, funny. So you can put an image as the background. That's not actually an image. Like, I can't click on it because it is the background. So if you don't want it to be something that can be moved, make it the background.